Hello students, good morning. This is Nageswaran welcoming you to the English Year Learning Program. In the last classes, we have discussed the vocabulary and grammar parts, and we have completed up to Unit 5, Prose, Poem and Supplementary Reader. Now, we are going to see active and passive construction. Before that, we must know what is an active voice and what is a passive voice. If you have the textbook, just refer your textbook at page number 78. There we have a lot of exercises to be discussed. What is an active voice? We use active voice to say what a subject does, whereas we use passive voice to say what is done to the subject, what is done to the people or things. Okay, so now this session gives you a short detail of active and passive constructions. Okay, let us begin this grammar transformation from the basis onwards. Let us see the basic structure of active and passive voice in a nutshell. What the rules should be followed while transforming the active voice into passive voice, simultaneously passive into active. Right. For active voice, in simple present, we use verb 1, whereas in passive construction, we use the be verbs am, are, is, are plus verb 3, that is the past participle of the main verb. If you want to change the simple past verb into passive construction, the rule should be followed is here we must use verb 2. In passive, we must use the simple past verbs of these three present verbs, that is auxiliary verbs. The past of these two, am and is, was. The simple past of this verb are is were. Okay, as usual, we have to use the verb 3. Next, in continuous forms, that is progressive sentences, especially present continuous, past continuous and future continuous. Okay, we have to use am, or is, or are, or was, or were plus verb plus ing. We can call these 5 verbs am, is, or was, or were as be verbs. Okay, be verb plus verb plus ing. It is the pattern for present and past continuous. If you find this one in active voice, we have to use same be verb and or is or of or was or were plus. This verb plus ing should be transformed into being. As usual, the remaining base form should be converted into past perfect, that is verb 3. So look at the verb pattern: be verb plus ing. Here same be verb plus being plus verb 3. Okay, right. What about the future continuous? We cannot transform the future continuous forms of verb into passive construction. There is no passive voice for 4 tense forms. They are future continuous and present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous and future perfect continuous. There is no passive construction for these 4 tense forms. Right, come to this video. Next one. If you find have group in active voice, the rule must be has or have or had. The verb form should be in past perfect. Whereas in passive construction, we have to use the same have group verb as or have or had plus. Before this verb 3, we have to add be, and then as usual we have to follow the verb 3 of this base form. In this area, both active and passive voices take the third form of the verb. Here we must use verb 3, as well as this passive construction takes the verb 3 only. Okay, right. Next area. If you find any models, that is modal verb, if you find any modal verb, you may have come across these modal verbs in your lower sections. They are will, would, shall, should, may, might, can, could and must. These 9 auxiliary verbs are called modal verbs. Apart from these 9 modal verbs, there are 4 semi or quasi modals. They are ought to, need to, dare to and used to. Okay, right. If you find any one of those modal verbs, we have to use the base form of that particular verb. Okay, so modal plus verb 1 should be in active voice. Whereas in passive construction, we have to use the same modal verbs and the verb 1, that is the base form, should be converted into be plus verb 3. Okay, so the rule is be plus verb 3. Right. So these are the basic structure of active and passive voices. Okay, this is used in both statement and interrogative questions. Okay, right. Again, we will recall all these verb patterns. In active voice, this structure should be followed. In passive construction, this structure can be followed. But in simple present, verb 1. In passive voices, and or is or are plus verb 3. In simple past, verb 2 is used here. Here was or were plus verb 3 is used. In continuous form, that is in progressive sentences, this form should be followed. Okay, be verb plus verb plus ing. The be verbs are am, is, are, was and were. Okay, here the same be verb should be used. Be verb, that is am, is, are, was and were, plus being plus verb 3. This ing form is transformed into this being. Okay, so remember students, before you use base form, that is before you use any be verbs, we must be very careful in using these terms because it depends upon the subject. You cannot exactly use the same be verb which is used in the active voice in passive voice. Okay, because if the subject is singular, the singular be verb should be selected. What are the singular be verbs? Is and was. For this term, am is used only after the subject I. Okay, if you use singular subject in present simple, you must select is. If you use singular subject in past simple, you must select was. Whereas if you use plural subject in present simple, you must select are. Likewise, if you use plural subject in simple past, you must select were. Okay, the same method should be followed while transforming from passive into active. Okay, right. Look at the next term, have group verbs. Here also we have three verb patterns: has, have or had. In singular subject, especially in present simple, you have to select has. Whereas if you use plural subject in present simple, you must select have. Okay. Otherwise, if you use past simple, you need not worry about the subject, whether it is in singular or plural. The verb should be taken is have. The same method should be followed in passive construction. Right. Next, we have to be very careful while using modal verbs. In modals, will or shall. Be careful while using these two. If you find will or shall, the passive construction should be modified according to the subject, because the modal verb shall is only applicable in modern days. Before the subject, especially I and we. In olden days, we use the subject you. The archaic term for that subject you is thou. 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 Thou means you. So, the subject I, we and thou. These three subjects only take the verb, modal verb shall. The other subjects should be followed by will. Okay, right. This is the basic structure of active and passive voice. So remember students, this structure should be followed while transforming active voice into passive voice. Okay. Right. So this is present simple and this one is past simple and the third one is progressive forms, especially present continuous and past continuous only. Then the last one is perfect forms, especially in present perfect, past perfect and future perfect. Okay, the last one is applicable for future simple. Okay, right. So let us move to the exercises area now. Right, students, we can start the exercises which are given in our 11th English book, page number 78. There we have the first exercise, column A. Identify the changes in these pairs of active and passive instructions. The given example is the pilot flew the airplane to Bengaluru. The pilot flew the airplane to Bengaluru. It is in active construction. How to find out a sentence, whether it is in active or passive construction? Look at the finite verb used in the sentence. The finite verb is where you can find the exact tense form is called finite verb. Okay, the finite verb shows you the exact tense forms. If you can't find the tense form of that particular verb, it is called non-finite verb. Okay, right. So it is in finite form flew. It is in simple past. Okay. The past simple of fly is flew. Okay, right. It is in past simple. So the verb is in simple past. Okay. There is no verb apart from this main verb is used in this sentence. So it is in active construction. Okay, right. Look at the subject. The doer of this action is the pilot. So it is called the subject. Then look at the next word, the airplane. The term the airplane is the answer for the question what. If you have the answers for the questions what or who, the answers are called object. They are the objects of that subjects. Okay, right. So it is the answer for the question what. If you raise the question, what did the pilot fly? What did the pilot fly? The answer is the pilot flew the airplane. So it is the object. So this is the object of the subject, the pilot. Okay. Remaining parts are called adjunct. Okay. If you get the answers for the questions when, where, why and how, they are called adjuncts. In parts of speech, they are called adverbs. Okay, right. So, while transforming the active voice into passive voice, you have to bring the object first. The airplane. Okay. Next, you have to look at the verb used in active voice. it is in verb 2. So if you have that table, that is that particular table, just now we have seen that. Okay, right. In that particular table, there we have the rules. They are was or were plus verb 3. If you find the verb 2 in active voice, the pattern should be followed in passive is was or were plus verb 3. Remember, the subject is in singular form, so you have to select was. Okay, the airplane was. Next, we have to use the verb 3. The verb 3 of this term is fly, flew and flew. Okay, the airplane was flown. The remaining part is to Bengaluru. Then the subject of this active should be converted into the object of passive construction. They are called the agents of that passive construction. Okay, who is the agent of this passive voice? The subject of this active voice is called the agent of this passive voice. Right. So by the pilot. Okay. Look at the sentence. The airplane was flown to Bengaluru by the pilot. Okay, it is in passive voice. How to find a passive construction? Look at the verb pattern here. Was plus verb 3. Okay. So it is the be verb was or were plus verb 3. This construction is in passive voice. Okay, right. The next given example in your textbook at page number 78 is the bananas were eaten by the monkeys. The bananas were eaten by the monkeys. Right. Here, the verb pattern used here. Were plus verb 3. Was or were plus eaten is in past perfect. So it is also in passive construction. So we have to change this passive voice into active voice. The answer for the active is bananas or the subject. The doer of the action is bananas and by the monkeys. These are the agent. So this is the object. So while transforming the passive construction into active voice, you have to remove the preposition by, and then you have to bring the agent, that is the object of that passive voice, at first in the sentence. Okay, the monkeys. And then look at the verb were plus eaten. So you have to cancel the be verb was or were, and then you have to select the verb 3 and convert this verb 3 into verb 2, because if you look at the table, there we have the construction was or were plus verb 3 in past simple. In active voice, there we have the rule verb 2 only. Okay, you have to select that verb 2 and use here. The monkeys. What is the verb 2 of this verb 3? Ate. Eat, ate, eaten. Okay, this is the verb 2. So the monkeys ate. What is the subject used here? Bananas. This subject should be changed into object. Okay, the monkeys ate the bananas. Full stop. So it is in passive voice and this one is active voice. And the first one is active voice The second one is passive voice. Okay, students. Right. With this session ends. In the next session, we will see the remaining exercises at page number 78. Thank you for watching. Whenever you find your time free, just practice all these exercises. Thank you very much. Meet you in the next session.